Hello, poor people. How are you today? I trust you're having a miserable life, as usual. So, I saw yesterday's video on communication and it wasn't satisfactory. I thought to redo it. But here's a recap of something we did. We said communication has a lot of benefits attached to it. For instance, it spirals across all aspects of your life, from relationship to business, networking. And what's even interesting is that, in fact, this is a very interesting point. All of these components have subsidiaries. In relationship, there is approaching a lady, communicating to your partner, by selling your family on business ideas. So you translate to the subject of business, applying for that promotion or job interview, and the list goes on and on. But what you peasants fail to do is identify the outcome you're trying to produce. And in fact, if you operate from the philosophy of arbitrary anything goes. You are just hoping it all works out magically. It only already gives me an insight into your mindset. You are the kind of person who doesn't plan. You just magically expect it to work out. For instance, you would attack a goal. Let's say your goal is to get in shape. For instance, you just go to the gym. No strategy, no plan. How you do the small things is how you do the big things. So over time, this wrong mindset applies into all aspects of your life. The same way communication spills into all aspects of your life. So the first thing you have to do is to define an outcome. What are you trying to produce? Who are you trying to mimic? Identify the communication style or the aspect of his communication style you want to embody and begin your journey. So, for instance, his rant, his ability to infuse emotion into what is said, or his pause. So, there are various aspects you can try and adopt. But most of you think this tip is somehow a betrayal to your confidence. So you believe copying someone somehow dilutes your identity, which is absolutely not the case. For you to become a good chef, you have to cook other people's recipe. So trying to formulate a new recipe without prior cooking experience would only end in disaster and fuel disappointment ultimately. So the best thing to do, learn how to cook. So trying to formulate new recipes without prior cooking experience will end in disappointment. The best thing you need to do is to learn first before you try and add tomatoes. Substitute water for sardine oil. That's how it works. So every single person learns the basics before trying to infuse their own unique style. Tyson, for instance, learned the basics of boxing, footwork, jab, punching the bag. It was at the process of practicing that he discovered his unique ability of explosive style and peekaboo. So all of this was not discovered at the first day he signed for boxing. It's a gradual process. You too will discover your unique communication style so long as you learn, then you can continue the process, because trying to formulate it at the beginning stages is impossible, because the knowledge that would act as shoulders of giants you stand upon is non-existent. I recalled first when I started communicating, I wanted to get to the point where I can teach without looking at the script or without prepping the teaching. The only thing I need to do, draft the objective. At the end of each video, what do I hope to achieve? What is the listener getting out? So it would have been stupid to try it at first. It doesn't work. So you start by scripting your content, and as you move, it becomes second nature. That's the first one. The second thing we'll debunk is this myth that a heightened vocabulary is linear to good communication. It's absolutely not the case. In fact, taking vocabulary to an extreme becomes counterintuitive because then you dampen clarity. Number two, you sound like a professor. And you know what happens when professors speak? Everybody sleeps, which is not something you're trying to achieve. So the best thing to do is understand the audience and communicate accurately. If you observe this video, little to no vocabulary has been used from start to finish, but yet you can discern the intelligence in communication. How can I achieve this? The ability to focus more on communicating intelligence as opposed to sounding intelligent, which is most of you's problem. Your goal in communication is to sound smart, is to sound professional, which is good, but it might affect judgment. So, for instance, there are a lot of times where I could have substituted word at the expense of clarity. So I could have sounded intelligent at the expense of comprehension. What's one word? So yeah, in the former video, I said something like selfishness, I think. Selfishness. Selfishness can be substituted for altruism. I could be like, altruist. I'm not altruistic in creating this kind of content. Now, that would have made me or portray me as intelligent, but at the expense of the understanding. Do you understand? So, do not sacrifice looking intelligent, or do not sacrifice clarity for looking intelligent. So, secondly, focus more on using punchy words, restructuring your sentence as opposed to relying on vocabulary. Because at the end of the day, if you rely on vocabulary and communicate like a fourth grader, what you're trying to do becomes obvious. For instance, I told her that this thing she's doing is ephemeral. So it's clear by that sentence I'm trying to sound intelligent. So for the sake of time, we'll end it here. As always, my friends, a pleasure speaking to you. I'll see you in the next one.